Good day, good day. This is on the Colonel E. Remy Gray Show, and I am coming to you live from our studios here in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And if you're joining me, I'd like to welcome you as well. And tonight, of course, I am going to be looking at just headlines that made news today in Liberia, and I mean today, I mean April 15th. Of course, here in the United States, it seems as though the fight against the coronavirus is still vehemently ongoing, and I would assume that in Liberia as well. Matter of fact, the president of Liberia, to slip from the United States to Liberia again, the president has proposed a stimulus $25 million package, and it's currently going through the legislative rambling at the House of Legislator, at the House of the Legislature. I'm sorry. The day is fast spent, of course, but thanks for joining me. And if you have a means of spending the next 15 or 20 minutes with me, thank you so much. And I am going to bring you an interlude of music while I sort things out. And like I said, I will be bringing you headlines that made news today in the Republic of Liberia. Thank you so much. And let's go to our presentation room here and try to get you entertained. Once more, thank you so much. And there you go. I am pretty sure I've got this on. Let me see if I can. Sometimes when the system is on, and of course, this is the Connell show here. I'm trying to see if I can do some bring you news about Liberia, and the night is fast spent. I have to move on with the program here. Just a minute. All right, so now let's move on with the program here, and like I said, I will be bringing news from Liberia, and we're gonna try to be interactive with this, and this is coming from the New Dawn newspaper. Okay, the New Dawn newspaper. The paper says President George Manaware is requesting the Liberian legislature to reappropriate $25 million for the remainder of the 2019-2020 budget year in support of the government's stimulus package to facilitate food distribution for designated households for 60 days. Okay, so as Liberians remain under lockdown due to increasing coronavirus cases. So, this gesture, of course, by the president in the proposed stimulus package, President Weah wants the government to have the World Food Program implement this program, and for the government to fully pay loans owed by vulnerable market people, take up the electricity bill of households in the affected counties, as it proposes similar support for the Liberia Water and Sewer Corporation. And the proposal went on to say the full costing, the full cost to cover this period in affected and other areas may add up to around $40 million. The World Bank has agreed to finance this gap of budget to the tune of $10 million using resources reallocated from existing projects, He says in a communication dated April 13. So pretty much, it is what it is. The president is proposing this, and so we are to evaluate this request by the president. But I think, in my opinion, it's a good gesture, provided it is repatriated to the intended recipients, because we have a way of proposing things. Sometimes we don't follow through, victimize the very people for which they're intended. And so but hopefully we can be negative about situation, especially if it is not left the ground on this stimulus package process. We should be hopeful that at least the president make the effort. Now it's left for the legislature to approve, and there's no time to be asking where the money is coming from, because there are lots of programs of government right now that are placed on hold. And one big one, I say, the president is not making those big company trips abroad, those ones that used to take 25, 30 people and place them in different parts of the world in expensive or near expensive hotels, with a number of other accommodations. So we're not in that era right now. So those money alone saved from those kinds of expensive trips abroad can be repatriated to helping less fortunate brothers and sisters in Liberia who cannot actually afford at this time. They barely could to forge ahead when they were not under lockdown, let alone currently. Okay, so I'm going to go back in and look at the news, continue reading the news here, go back to our presentation room, and the president notes that the program will further help banks to increase lending to new borrowers, reminding lawmakers that the Liberian government holds a large stock of domestic debt spanning more than a decade, and servicing the debt has always been a challenge for government. Okay, that's from the Dawn newspaper. And to conclude, the Dawn newspaper said it comes after Mr. Ware declared a state of emergency last week, which began taking effect Saturday, 11th April, applying lockdown measures to help reduce the spread of the virus. The virus we mean by coronavirus. This week, Liberia has reported 59 coronavirus cases with 6 deaths. President Weir details that the government intends to have the World Program implement the program in collaboration with the government. To ensure this, the president is setting up a COVID-19 Food Support National Steering Committee comprising relevant government entities and the international development community to provide oversight over the process, he explains. Okay, and there are other news headlines as well, and let's see if we can find other news headline. So the Dawn newspaper continues here, and the newspaper looked at The House Committee Chair on National Security, Bapalos County Electoral District Number 1 Representative Alfred G. Coywood rebukes the Joint Security um, for exercises meted against peaceful Liberians in the wake of the state of emergency and lockdown. So we do have this a situation where those who have been the task force actually designated to police the lockdown, the state of emergency. There have been some really manhandling of Liberian citizens who are probably out and about. Some are even dragged out of their own property from the premise, and brought into a public domain and lashed. In other words, they were flogged publicly. So a member of the ruling Coalition for Democratic Change, Representative Coywood, called on the head of the Joint Security to intervene in the issue of some local security personnel who are not part of the Joint Security beating and manhandling peaceful citizen. Okay, that is from the Dawn newspaper. So there are other news paper. Let's see, let's see if we can find additional news here. Yeah, here's this one. So this came out of front page newspaper, and this has to do with MPhil. Here's the meaning of the word. A staff of the National Public Health Institute of Liberia, MPhil, Mr. Benjamin Soko, who tested positive for COVID-19 on Friday, April 10th, was in very close contact with Dr. Mosoka Fala, and head of MPhil 5 days prior to his testing. Okay, and so there's this development that the staff of this MPhil, which is the National Public Health Institute of Liberia, Mr. Benjamin Soko, was in close proximity of the head of was in close community of the head of this of Mr. Masoko Fowler, head of MPhil, 5 days prior to his testing. So the MPhil is the National Public Health Institute of Liberia. This, one would say, is the institution, just like the CDC. It's charged with the responsibility of actually policing also the coronavirus situation in Liberia. But the head of that agency, we're told, was in close proximity, of course, of a working colleague, Mr. Benjamin Soko, who came down 5 days later with testing positive for the coronavirus. Okay, so Mr. Soko on April 5th posted to Facebook a picture of he and Dr. Fowler sitting very close together without any observance of the social distancing rule introduced by MPhil and the Ministry of Health. Social distancing, also called physical distancing, means keeping space between yourself and other people outside of your home. This includes stay at least 6 feet 2 meters from other people, not gathering in groups, and staying out of crowded places and avoiding mass gathering. So it is clear that if the social distancing is it also is a further measure to keep people from to prevent people from actually getting infected by people who may be symptomatic or asymptomatic. When you're symptomatic, you're showing the sign that you have coronavirus. But you can also be asymptomatic, meaning you can show no sign at all. You can appear perfectly well, but at the same time, you can be a carrier of the coronavirus, and that has a greater tendency also of transmitting itself upon those who do not have corona at all. So in this situation, there was a working colleague, someone who works with Dr. Masoko Fowler, who heads the MPhil. They were sitting in close proximity. And then a few days later, this guy was tested to be positive for the coronavirus. Okay? So COVID-19 spreads mainly among people who are in close contact within about 6 feet for a prolonged period. Spread happens when an infected person coughs, sneezes, or talks, and droplets from their mouth or nose are launched into the air and land in the mouth or noses of other people. Goodness. So in other words, you encounter the disease if someone sneezes, if they cough, and the mucus from either their nose or their mouth or wherever it is, that transmit the disease to other person who are in close proximity. Okay, so that's how you contract the coronavirus. You come in contact with an infected person, animal, or surface, anything that that's been exposed to the disease itself. Let's see if we can find another news headlines here. Let's go to this one. So, Liberia state security brutally mars early days of lockdown. Okay, so this is from the Daily Observer. The Daily Observer. It says many blame ambiguous measures from government. Messages from government, I'm sorry. The enforcement of a new set of restrictions aimed at curbing the spread of the coronavirus often begin gently in other parts of the world with warnings and explanations, but in Liberia, citizens have been greeted with the force, and as things stand, it is just a matter of time before the entire situation escalates into sporadic violent scenes in Montserrat County and other parts of the country. Okay, this means that the breeding tension, therefore, needs quick intervention from central government to help de-escalate the current anger that is flaring among residents across Monrovia and its environs. The new regulation, which were precipitated by a state of emergency declared by the president last week, aimed at keeping citizens inside their homes as much as possible, went into effect 11:59 p.m. on Friday, April 10th. The restriction starts from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. to 3 p.m. President said. Okay, so from that time, people are meant to stay in home. In other words, from the enforcement time period for the state of emergency is from 6 in the morning to 3 in the afternoon. So you should start winding down, especially people who are essential, um, folks out there like, transportation, people who drive buses, um, people who sell in the market, people who carry on commerce. Because, in other words, you have to have some of these badly needed services to be able to survive the lockdown. Okay, so this is what this is all about. But because of the way things are enforced in Liberia, this news organ is saying, that's the Daily Observer, that normally in other parts of the world, there is pre-information, there is information, and then people are educated on what to do. So people are made aware of what's coming. But in this case, people woke up the next morning, they, were being chased out of the street, and some people were being brutalized, and people lost their survival, their means of survival, and so on and so forth. So, but things started on ugly as viral social media footage at the onset of the restriction early Saturday morning through Monday afternoon showed cases of joint security brutality against citizens in Monrovia, Pennsville, and other parts of the country. Okay, so we on social media, of course, we are always the ones to carry these things, especially when as they unfold, because lots of folks sometimes in Liberia, because of the way things are, they get their news from social media. uh you may not see it as something that you need, but definitely people get their news from us here, you know uh and traditionally we have been known for keeping the peace or spreading chaos, because a lot of times people are only trying to to show what's going on, to let people be aware that, hey, this is it. Matter of fact, some are saying that even if they had carry on the awareness on social media, that stay away, stay out of the street Saturday morning, or late Friday night, especially early Saturday morning, stay out of the street. People would have been aware, because most of them get their news from us here on social media. This is the Colonel E. Remy Gray Show, and I'm trying to bring you news headlines. And thanks for being there. Hopefully, we will bring you a small entertainment here again. Continue with our songs. I love Liberian song. From the first time I saw your face, I knew I was mine. Baby, your smile takes my breath away. You can say what I want, you don't mind. As long as you are by my side. Baby, you smile like paradise. Baby, girl, come be my love. How many times do you want me to say I love you? Then I tell you what I do. Even you want me, girl, I do. Baby, girl, come be my love. Okay, let's move along. We're just about to end this. This was just intended to be a 30 minutes program, but I believe we've gone over 30 minutes. We'll just probably do it for another 3 minutes and let you go and be able to bring you to closer to bed. And that way, at least you'll be able to get up early tomorrow morning back to work. This is the Colonel E. Ramigre Show, and if you're just joining me, I'd like to welcome you to our news brief. This just headlines that made news in our country, Liberia, in the course of April 15th. It's late there now. Of course, it looks like it's about 3. If I'm not mistaken, it's almost 5 or 6 in the morning there. So, welcome to our microphone. We're looking at news headlines in Liberia, as you know, we went about our business on Wednesday, April 15th. So let's see. We've discussed. So Liberians, this is the last of all. Liberians eagerly await the stimulus package that the president has put forth and is being debated right now in the House of Legislature. The New Dawn newspaper say Liberians are eagerly awaiting what actions lawmakers would take to address issues including lack of access to banking services in remote places, unstable water and electricity supply, among others, as President George Sanjmane on Tuesday submitted to the Liberian legislature a communication justifying the declaration of state of emergency. Under the state of emergency, which came last week with a lockdown measure starting Saturday, April 11th, most slum dwellers in Montserrat and surrounding continue to take the high risk of crowding wells and other water sources to fetch water due to pipe-borne water supply shortage for several days. Caution is most likely to be not exercised among residents who at times become desperate to get water, food, and other essential needs for their homes, while fighting also not to violate a ban against movement of people after 3 p.m. So yeah, pretty much this is this just tells you exactly the state of emergency, what is expected. There'll be widespread panic and chaos, of course, and as people brave the likely areas where they go to fetch their daily essential, whether it's the market, whether it's the well where they go and fetch water, or anywhere where they go to conduct business before the 3 p.m. deadline. it will be almost like a rush and a chaos. So the New Dawn newspaper also says that the week Liberia, this week, of course, about 59 people have been tested positive so far for the coronavirus, and out of that, some 6 people lost their lives, and some are saying that this number is way down because there are cases that are not reported, and Liberia being what it is, who knows? Could be true, could be just mere speculation, but it's anybody's guess. Okay, and so pretty much that was it. I don't see anything substantial that we did not cover today. Of course, the legislature right now is debating the stimulus package. In case you're not aware what stimulus is, it's an assistance that the government has proposed to help people who are experiencing this lockdown, to ensure that at least some people have something to eat. Those who probably will need extra things in their home, to be able to observe the lockdown, stay within the law. And so that stimulus package is intended for that. It's also intended to help people pay debt, because the government has proposed that the bank should not bother people who have, who are indebted to them, especially if, like marketeers, people who took loans to do, small marketing here and there to yield some profit and then be able to stay above the water. That's a form of employment in itself. It's called self-employment. So the president is ensuring that people who are caught up within this bracket, at least the bank give them certain relief, and that way, because the government itself will step in and try to see if they can foot those loans for these people. So the stimulus package itself got some good goodies, some good intentions. Maybe it's the implementation that some of us are iffy about. I will know definitely that these kinds of things normally don't benefit the common man for which they are intended. We saw what happened with the package that was intended to mop up excess liquidity. In other words, there were too many banknotes, dilapidated banknotes in circulation in Liberia, and 25 million, same 25 million was given to address that exercise, to make sure they buy back some of this extra money that were floating around the market, and that was going to boost the economy. In other words, it was going to help the economy. It was going to trickle down to the common man, at least experiencing that things are getting better. But that went bad also, because people will always find a way. Now it's coming to another distribution. Imagine if people were given X amount of money, few people to manage the same money is now given to a large number of people. Imagine what will happen if something came out of that small number of people. Definitely a large number of people managing a situation. You should expect some irregularities, but then again, we have to put the processes in place, so that transparency, so that there could be a reflection of exactly what was done. But now the legislature has to approve of the very idea in the first place. Okay, so in case you're wondering, $25 million again. Well, it is said again will benefit the common man, but I think the focus in my recommendation here should be on the processes. Before, on the face of 2000, we had a distribution process in Liberia. It was a module that was put together. It was built cleverly by international organizations that came to help us. We developed a system called SELF. I'm not sure I can remember what the nomenclature itself stands for. SELF. but it was more a distribution management system that was intended to reach the last man in the last village in the last part of Liberia, to make sure that those people benefit from um, they benefit from that rice distribution, because people had gone extremely hungry in the course of the war, and people were coming back out of their hiding places, and people were war weary. In other words, they were tired of war. So in that moment, food came into being. They started distribution, because WHO, the World Food Organization, as well, WFP, started bringing in food. So a lot of Liberians started getting ration. But it was done so much effectively that almost people died the first few months, because they died not because they were hungry. They died because they ate too much. They overfed themselves, because imagine you've stayed hungry for all these months. Finally, there's free food on the market, so people ate beyond their capacity, what they themselves could accommodate. But at least Liberians were able to get out of that one. So we could use that module to see if we can distribute some of the stimulus package to make sure it trickles down to the common man wherever they find themselves. Okay. Till then, this is how we'll do it. We'll call it a night, and